Well, you got to turn the page quickly in the playoffs, and we're fortunate to win on Saturday, and then found out later on Saturday that we'd be playing Friday night. So we've jumped right into James Madison and spent most of the day and evening yesterday on James Madison. The guys were around, but mainly with Coach Kramer yesterday, and then we'll have them this afternoon. It's a challenging week because we have finals. And so a number of guys are taking finals and then coming, and we're just finding different times to practice. We're not going to go till late in the afternoon today, but excited about the opportunity to play at home against a really good James Madison team. And we have to have great plans, and we have one day shorter to figure all those things out. And so we'll open up for questions. We're looking forward to the big game.
So, first question. This is a semifinal round filled with 4 programs with rich traditions in the FCS. What does it mean to the coaches and players to have that past success surrounding them all season?
Well, I think if you look at it from this year, I believe the best 4 teams are left with Eastern Washington ourselves, and we played Eastern Washington this year, and they won it, I know, in 2010. And then Youngstown State, we played Youngstown State, and they've had tremendous tradition and success, and they're a hot ball club that we know is extremely talented. And I played against Youngstown or coached against Youngstown in the early 90s and stuff when they were on their runs, and I know there's a great tradition there. And then James Madison obviously won it, I think it was 2004, and great program, great tradition. It's fun to be a part of these last 4, and as we talked as coaches, the team that comes out of this 4 is definitely going to earn it.
Coach Brian Shore, completing 75% of his passes. He can run the ball. Where does he rank list of quarterbacks you faced this year?
Well, he's extremely talented. I don't know where he ranks, but he's a playmaker, and I've been really impressed just watching him, how well he throws the ball. They're an up-tempo offense, and he manages it really well. He throws the ball extremely well. He keeps plays alive. That's where I think he's been so impressive. Where somebody's maybe coming free or they look like there's a sack, and he's able to keep himself alive and keep plays alive and keep his eyes downfield. And that's the thing that some guys are able to keep plays alive and then scramble for 10. He can scramble, but he does a great job of finding receivers late downfield. So I think he was a player of the year in their league and really well deserved. I've been really impressed with him.
Similar in style to any other quarterbacks you've seen this season?
It's hard. No, it's hard to tell. I think he's unique in his own right in all the things he's done. He's run the football when they've needed him to run it, and obviously his completion percentage speaks for itself, and his touchdown to interception ratio speaks for itself. He's a complete football player. Really impressed with him.
Chris, when you talk about physical football, can you expand on that a little more? What does that mean for your program?
Well, just what we do up front, offense and defensive line, and how we practice in physical play and going against good on good as much as we do all year long, whether it's in the spring, fall, or even during the season. Just having a mindset at the line of scrimmage that you're going to dominate and own the line of scrimmage. And we challenge our guys every day that we're going to lead the country in physicality. And that's a challenge we do give to our guys every day. You got to lead the country in physicality, and if you can do that, I think you have an opportunity to always be successful on Saturday if you can control the line of scrimmage.
Consistently been better teams in December than they were in August and September. Everybody else in the country gets the same chance to improve as the course of the season. Why do you guys do that better?
I can't answer for other schools. It's worked for us in what we've done as far as the way we practice, maybe going some good on good, knowing when to back off guys. I don't know what a lot of other schools do. I think our guys that are getting all those reps in the spring and the fall from our double rep system, and all of a sudden those guys maybe aren't playing but still taking a lot of those reps. When they get thrust in and have the opportunity to play, they're ready to play. And there's a culture here of you're always going to continue to get better on a daily basis. And I've been really pleased with our development, because guys are going to get better, especially when you have them a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the program. And the more reps they get, the better and more comfortable they are.
Back to physicality, you had a stretch of more than 200 yards rushing per game, some over 300. Is the offensive line, what has been clicking, or what have they done better as the years went on?
Well, I think the biggest thing is our health there. We've been healthy up front, and we've played the same 5 starters for a number of weeks now, and we're still getting some good reps out of young Zach and Tanner Volson. But just those 5 guys and just collectively playing and practicing together as long as they have a great rapport, they have great chemistry. Coach Riley does a phenomenal job with our offensive line of getting them ready to play and understanding the pictures. They've played a ton of football, those guys. And so, with the different fronts, and that's where I think our experience in the offensive line is really showing up this year, is the amount of different fronts, stunts, and blitzes that they have seen. Come Saturday, they've seen most things, whether or not it was during the week of practice or 4 or 5 weeks ago, that they're able to get to the sideline and make really good adjustments.
Connor was limping a little bit in the second half, and then obviously the game had to be stopped for Zach and Austin. How did your offensive line come out of that game health-wise?
Well, they're beat up pretty good, but that was a physical battle in there for a number of snaps as well as we ran the football. But I don't see anybody in the offensive line missing any time. Obviously, we'll learn a little bit more today because we didn't practice yesterday. But Kunert and Big Zach went down, but they finished the game, and so leads me to believe that they're going to be ready to go. And it's a semifinal. Those guys are warriors. They're tough kids. They're going to find a way to play.
Do you believe you're deeper than other programs? Get more depth?
I don't know. I can't answer for other programs, but I think we do a really good job of developing guys throughout the entire season, whether that's, once again, spring or summer or fall with Coach Kramer, or the reps that those kids are getting during the week in a practice. Our 2s take an awful lot of reps as well as our 1s in a game week practice. I don't know if we're deeper, but we're giving those kids an opportunity throughout the entire year with all their double reps in the spring and fall that you hope they understand our system. And when they do understand our system, we always talk about it. Do your 1/11th. You just be a part of your 1/11th. Nobody has to do anything extraordinary. Everybody just has to do their job within the 11.
Listen, 200 yards against NDSU, but without Tangway, DeLuca, and Pierre G. Tucker. I mean, those are 3 pretty impactful guys. How are you able to find a way to still perform with players like that?
It's obviously difficult to not have those 3 guys. We haven't had Nick for an awful long time, Nate for a few weeks, and now Pierre for a few weeks. And credit to our coaches, credit to the guys that are the backups. But first credit this week goes to the offense. We have it for 41 minutes. I was over in the weight room talking to a few guys, and not very many of the defensive guys were sore this week, which is great because they're playing 39 plays. And, the offense, did a great job of dictating that football game. You go 10 of 13 on third down conversions. We talk a lot about gaining those extra plays and turning that time of possession. Well, when you're 10 of 13 on third down conversions, that's getting you another set of 3 and sometimes a set of 6 or 9 based on getting another first down. And so, our defense played really well after that after the first quarter, but credit our offense for holding on to the football.
Do you think this Friday night game gives you guys an advantage because of what the other team has to do travel-wise, or would you rather play on Saturday?
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's pretty equal this year because they're traveling, but in the same respect, they had an extra day because they played on Friday, so I think it's probably a wash. Just from past experience, I think our guys are kind of accustomed to playing on Friday night. So we've done it so many years in a row we've got to jumpstart everything. Today's essentially Tuesday for us. So we have to have our coaches have to have the game plans ready a little bit quicker. We're in there probably a little bit later at night, trying to make sure that we cover every scenario. Which usually this is the extra day you get on Monday. Well, we don't have that day now, so we have to really be efficient with our time.
For you guys this week, how many guys do you have planning to walk?
I think we have 4 right now planning to walk. Landon Leckler, King Frazier, Eric Perkins, and James Fisher are the 4 that I know of right now that are planning to walk, and that's in the afternoon. Before we had the shack done, it was in the morning because they had split sessions. Now everybody's together at 2:00, and so we'll have those guys in the morning for our walkthrough, but then when we start our pregame, those guys will be at graduation, and that's something I think is really important to myself, to our program, and to those 4 players and their families, that they have the right and they've earned the right by doing what they did in the classroom to walk. And I think that's really cool. And so they'll do that. I think they'll be out of there. They better be out of there by 5, but I think they'll be out of there shortly after 3 or so that they can kind of get back into the mode of game day.
Pierre, he tried going, didn't he?
Yeah, well, we warmed him up. We warmed he and Shep up. We knew we were going to have Shep for a half. We warmed Pierre up. I didn't think he could move laterally well enough. I mean, it was one of those things where we were going to see what he could do, and we didn't think he moved well enough laterally to play. And so we're hoping, having those couple extra days that he didn't do anything Saturday, Sunday, and today, that he'll be better. I can't answer if he's going to play for us yet until I see him do some things, but we're hoping he can practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
What goes into a decision like that to give Shep 1 half?
Well, talking to Bobby, talking to our training staff, and I saw him practice on Thursday, and he moved around fairly well on Thursday, but I also know how long was he going to last? Was he going to be able to go for 50, 60 plays? And Bobby thought he would probably be able to go anywhere from 25 to 30 plays, and you always worry about halftime, getting stiff, getting tightened up, and so we said, let's get you out there warming up a little bit before the game, just so that you have the mindset that you're playing, and then we're going to sit you the first half. And I think Coach Kramer did a great job at halftime of getting him ready. Then he came out and did some sprinting and running around. He looked pretty fresh and looked pretty good, and we're sure hopeful we're going to have him for a full 60 minutes.
Your special teams have been really good in this playoff run. Does that change how you approach the week in terms of what you're working on special teams?
Well, we won't change. We'll emphasize more, but they're a complete football team. You hit it on the head. Their special teams have been dynamite. They've faked punts. They've faked field goals. They've returned kicks for touchdowns. They've blocked punts. The one returner, I think, has 4 punt returns. They've done everything well on special teams, which is a sign of a good football team, a sign of a well-coached, disciplined team, which they are. But all 3 phases, there's not a phase where you'd say, well, there's whether you'd say it's a weakness or just not as good. I know they're leading the FCS in scoring and have a phenomenal offense. Well, you flip the defense on them. Those guys, they're active. They run extremely well. They'll strike you. I'm impressed with all 3 phases.
Offensively, what do they do that impresses you the most?
Well, they have some tempo to them, so they can speed it up or slow it down. The running back is a great player. He's a 1,500-yard rusher. He's 5'10", 220. He can stick his foot in the ground and get vertical really fast. He breaks tackles, catches the ball in the backfield. The quarterback is a great player. He really makes them go. And they have a number of wide receivers, which is a little different. Usually there's one guy that has 80 catches and somebody else. These guys all have, I think, between 35 and 45 catches, and they're beating everybody at the wide receiver position. So they're really balanced, and that's something I think makes them so good on offense. Is they are balanced, and they're going to throw it on third down. They're going to run it on third down and do the same thing with their tempo offense.
Talk a little bit about King Frazier, from recruiting him and going to Nebraska, transferring, sits behind Crockett, you challenge him, and the kid runs for 101 yards against South Dakota State in the playoffs and is really the consummate, teammate here.
Yeah, he really is, and been really impressed with King. I recruited him in high school out of Lee Summit, and thought we had a chance to get him up here, and then he chose to take the opportunity at Nebraska, and then when I got the head job here, he reached out to us, sent his release, reached out to me and said, I'm thinking about transferring. I'm looking at one other school. I'm looking at Southern Illinois. And lo and behold, Randy Hedberg was recruiting him at Southern. So I said, well, I think I can answer that question for you because Randy's coming up here, and had a great talk with his dad, Jeff Baker, and it worked out for him to come up here. And we didn't promise him anything. And he sat behind Croc, and Crockett had a phenomenal senior year. And you're right, King's had a really good couple years, been an all-conference running back for us. He's a guy that you can tell just continues to get better and better as the season goes along. And he's a really unselfish guy, and that's something I really appreciate about King. He loves those guys in that running back room. He's so excited when Chase does something or Lance does something or Bruce does something, just like they're excited when he does something. And that's something that's really rare in a running back culture, to have four guys rooting for each other like they do. And, they split some carries on Saturday, but all they want is when they have their opportunity to go and when it's somebody else's opportunity to root them on. And he's had a really productive few years for us here.
Play a high-powered offense like JMU, does it put more pressure on the offense to keep up, more pressure on the defense to slow them down?
Both. It's going to be the same kind of formula that we had this past week, and you hope we can have that same blueprint. It's hard to, but you have to keep a high-powered offense on the sideline, and the way you do that is by being able to run the football and win on third down so you can stay on the field. But if those guys have their play count up, like a lot of the high-tempo teams, we're going to be in trouble because they have so many explosive weapons. And then our guys are more tired. We've challenged our depth. We know that. But now we're getting a little thin. We aren't going as deep on the defensive line and secondary and linebackers. So, it's imperative that we're able to control the football and offense and try to keep those guys on the sideline.
What do they do defensively that impresses you, James Madison?
Run and hit. They're really active up front. They've got a defensive end that I think is a phenomenal player. And then in their secondary, they shut down Sam Houston, who has really good skill kids because they cover so well. I think they're sound in what they do. They don't do a ton of things, but I just really impressed with their athleticism and their speed on defense. And those kids really like to strike you.
About the development of Dom Davis this year and how important is he going to be in a spread against this spread team?
Yeah, the reps he's received the last month for sure are going to be so valuable to him. Obviously, when we lost Pierre, his reps increased, and he's been playing at a much higher level, and he'll have to play a bunch for us if they dictate that's the personnel that they want to use. But for a guy that really didn't play much the whole month of September. And then slowly started to get integrated into the defensive game plans in October. He's a seasoned guy now for a redshirt freshman, having probably 10 games under his belt.
You mentioned something about Dimitri Williams. He's coming on.
Yeah, he's playing really well, and you can see it in practice how much more comfortable. Dimitri's a phenomenal athlete. Trying to make sure that he can refine his skills as a receiver has been the challenge for Dimitri. But my appreciation of him is he's always trying to mimic what Shep and what RJ do as far as route running and those type of things to get himself to be that great route runner as a receiver. We know he's electric with the football in his hands. He's a really strong kid, but he's as good a blocking receiver as I've seen here. He's done a phenomenal job of setting the edge and going. You can go all the way back, flip on tape of the Iowa game. He was digging out safeties left and right. Those kids were unblocked, and he'd come in and take them out on some cracks. And so he'll do everything. And that's the thing that I'm really impressed with Dimitri is whether he has the ball in his hands or not, he knows what his role is on specific plays.
You want a quick start every week, extra emphasis on it this week?
Well, you got to be careful about saying quick start. Does that mean we're up 7-0, 14-0? I think the bigger thing on the quick start is dictating the pace and dictating just how physical the game will be. Because, I would have wanted a quick start last week. We didn't really have a quick start. That didn't end up hurting us. But I think more of it is just dictating the physical style of play that we hope to have, as well as we have to eliminate mistakes. And when you get a critical game, when you get into the semifinals, whether it's a special teams play, whether it's a turnover, whether it's an opportunity to create a turnover and you don't come down with a pick or you don't do something or you blow a coverage. Those are the things you just can't have happen when you get this late in the playoffs.
What's his status? I know it went down on Saturday.
It was a rib injury. I'm waiting. I think he's getting an MRI today, waiting to see. So I don't really know right now.
Does this game feel like a second senior night, knowing that it is the final game for them?
It always is for those guys. I mean, we don't, act like that, but it is for those guys, for those few seniors that we have. They know this is the last time they're going to get a chance to play at Gate City Bank Field, and so I'm excited for those guys. And later on in the week is when it'll be brought up by some of the juniors and sophomores, more so than the seniors. But there's no doubt these guys know that this is their last opportunity.
How impressed have you been with Grant Morgan's play? How has he kind of grown since Nate went down?
He's really stepped up his play. He stepped up in a leadership mode as well with Nate not in there. Now, it's great to have Nate still around those guys because Nate's always going to be in their ears and talking about technique and stuff. But, Grant was playing 20 plays a game. Now he's playing 40 plays a game, and he's playing really well. And getting the reps out of Steidl. Steidl's playing really well. We moved Caleb Butler inside. Caleb really gave us a bunch in that last game. And Blake Williams and Jack Darnell, we have 5 guys we're rotating in there, but Grant's now the oldest member, and he's playing really well.
How can the crowd affect, maybe more importantly than the spread, the tempo?
Well, you hope that they have to figure out what their silent count's going to be. Is it going to be a clap? Is it going to be a foot? Is it going to be a hand? Everybody does something different that it's a little harder to get everybody set and then figure that out. Are we going to go on a clap? Are we going to go on a foot to get that snap off? As well as a lot of times, you're going on first sound. Well, a tackle listens for that first sound. Now you can't. Now you got to look in, look at the ball. I think sometimes those things do play a big factor when you're at home and when you're on. The hard thing is we're still trying to find that a few of those games where we're seeing what they're doing to utilize the snap count. But the crowd noise will be a factor in especially early downs. Third down, a lot of the tempo teams on third down still take their time, so they want to see where the pressure is coming from or what you're in coverage-wise. Where on first and second down, they're usually just going, assuming a lot more vanilla defense. And that's why you do tempo offenses, to create more vanilla defenses.
Chris, is there a trait of Colonial teams? This is the 4th different one you've seen since you've been here. Is like the Valley without physical is?
No, I don't know it well enough. I know these guys ran through the Colonial with great success this year, won in some tough venues, and never were really slowed down. I think Villanova was the team that slowed them down probably the best, but that's not what we do. Villanova just does some different things on defense. But they've been really good for a long time. And we played them here in 2011, and I know it's a different staff and stuff, but they have tremendous tradition there. They had the great quarterback last year, and then he got hurt and stuff. I know how good the Colonial has been for a long time. Even when I was at a previous school, we'd play them, different teams all the time, and it really impressed with their league. They rival, I think the CA does rival the Missouri Valley.
Were you happy to see Youngstown get another one?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really happy for Bo. I was able to watch the fourth quarter or the overtime of that game, and that's a tough offense to prepare for in 3 days. And I thought those guys did a great job preparing, and excited to have another Valley team in. And that'll be a really good football game out in Cheney.